Okay, so welcome everybody. I see still some people waiting in the lobby. Okay, so welcome. We still wait maybe one more minute to make sure that we got maximum of attendees. And we'll start very shortly. Good. Just before I start, so my name is JP. Just making, one of you can let me know if it's okay. Do you see my PowerPoint presentation? Can I have a green light? A voice green light?
It is okay, Jean-Philippe. We can see it.
Good. Perfecto. Okay, so I think we can start. So welcome on board for this morning. I hope you're having a good time. Real pleasure for me to be here with you today. I'm together here with my colleague Cornelia. We'll see it also in a minute. She's here in the session. Today we have I would say a short, fully packed information setup with talking about graphic charter or graphical charter or design system. And we'll talk about some element in Power BI. And we'll have also a presentation also from Microsoft. So here we go. Let's start directly from the beginning. So together, I'm here today with Cornelia. Cornelia, maybe you can say, just one or two words before I start.
Yes, hello everyone. So I'm Cornelia. So I'm part of OBD's team. So like data management, and I work with Power BI. So let's do it. Let's continue.
Good, excellent. And my name is Jean-Philippe. So JP, for those who know me, data artist and European lead for dashboard design within our company. So just two slides about the company. As you know, some of you know us as formerly known as Business and Decision. We are now part of Orange and Digital Services. Basically, we're working on four main different areas that you can see on your screen: customer experience, digital workspace, data and AI, and cloud services. And just some, I will not put this into detail, but just give you an overview of what we are, where we are located. Of course, we are also in France as well, but as you can see, we are part of here digital services in Europe, European part. And yes, Switzerland is part of the European team in this case. So talking about design system. So design system, graphical charters is plenty of way to call it when we're talking about dashboards. And well, first I would like to know part of our people that we have in this webinar this morning. I got 3 levels, so don't worry, your secrets are safe. No one is judging here. It's just to have a brief overview of I would say, who are you? Basically, from what I've seen with our clients, I would say we have 3 kind of different levels. We have the beginner. Well, talking about graphical system or design system, no specific rules in terms of creating a dashboard, kind of, I would say, lack of consistency, if I may say so. Everybody is doing their own dashboard. There's no specific rule. So really is the beginner side. Intermediate, you start to have some consistency in terms of creating your dashboard, and you get also some good user alignment. You have also your brand alignment, which is quite getting more and more into your dashboard. And the last level, it's our champion. Maybe we do have some champion where we have a high consistency. That means that every time you create a dashboard, you have everything set up, like filter always at the same place. color palettes, all nice, high user adoption and a strong brand alignment. So first question for you, how do you feel? As you can see with this, autumn style question, how do you feel? Beginner in this area, when you may need to make some guidelines of how to create a dashboard and how to organize dashboard. So level 1 is beginner. Do you feel more intermediate? You get some roles, we start to implement some roles, where to put the filters, which color palette do you use, etc., etc. You got some rules. So level 2 is the intermediate. And level 3, we got the champion here, we know how to go, we know how to move forward, and here we go. We get the job doing, and we have really good guidelines regarding this. So maybe Rebecca, you can launch so we have a quick poll for you to answer. So maybe you can. I will maybe just stop sharing my screen so we can see the result here. Talking about the pool. So where do you stand in this area? So let me. So where do we have the result? So please fill in so graphical charter, design system for your dashboard. Where do you stand? So here's the question. Where do you stand? And please fill in the. Okay, so what do you have? So 16 answers so far. We can mainly some intermediate. So okay, some beginners. We have no champions this morning. So okay, well, that's good. We have always getting time to move forward. Off we go. So yeah, I see mainly of intermediate. So that means you have some rules, and maybe it's not 100%. All clean. So coming back to my presentation, do you see my I just went back to my presentation. So you can just give me a yes, okay, so that we are good to go. Cornelia, yes, you can see my screen. Good, perfecto. So let's keep going. Now that we know that we have kind of different people here, let's have a look. So just one slide about myself. Don't worry, I'm not going to talk too much about this. So who I am to talk about this subject. So my name is JP. Well, I've been working as data artist for business and decision on Orange now for 5 years now, working in really dashboard design and really focusing on visualization and training about design and all that kind of thing, really putting the focus on UX, because most of the time we're already focused with not maybe the right approach, but focusing on the UX. Looking at the type of client I'm working with, as you can see, bunch of clients, different areas, different elements. So let's talk about this graphic charter now. So you can call it graphic charter, you can call it design system. It's really different kind of elements that we can see from different perspective. Basically, I mean, just to make it quite simple, it's really a document that will, I would say, compile all information, making sure that every time you open something, you have the same approach, same things, always easy for our user. And this is the main point. When we're talking about dashboarding, we're talking about colors, we are talking about layouts, charts, icons, navigation, all that kind of thing. And basically, this is the heart of what we call a graphic charter, and it's really useful. Let me share with you, I would say, the typical errors that I can see with that kind of exercise. Well, let's have a look at this. Number 1, color. I love colors. For those who have been working with me, they know that I love colors. But sometimes when I'm looking at some dashboard and, looking at color scheme are sometimes inconsistent, confusing. You can see a nice example here. Different colors, different perspective. What is what do you get out of it? And maybe your feeling is, and you may think that, well, colors, it's not my cup of tea, as long as the data is good, we don't have time to take care of this, we don't like, aesthetic is not a priority for us, or, I've heard this only one time. We prefer to let each team choose their own colors. Okay, so each department can choose their own set of colors, and then off we go. Well, the challenge with colors is, challenge with colors is could be really a challenge because, first can be visual confusion, in terms of looking at different colors, your brain will get it, and it will be quite challenging for your brain to have all and the right information. So it can be confusion. When I'm talking about training about dashboard design, I'm always mentioning about cognitive load. And cognitive load, I can tell you, if you use plenty of colors, this can definitely increase your cognitive load. And this can be a challenge as well. Also, in terms of why this is a challenge, reduce usability. Usability in terms of way of working with your dashboard could be a real challenge. And those are the why, and those are the consequences. Consequences. If you're don't using the right set of colors, can bring confusion to your user. Can bring also some error in terms of looking at information or dealing with information. So this can be really tricky. And at some point, and I've seen this sometimes, this can bring some frustration of your user. And the last thing we want from our user working in the BI tools that we have, in Power BI, is for them to say, oh, too many information, too many colors. Let me go back to my favorite Excel sheet, and then it will be much more easier for me. And we don't want this. So colors, you need to tackle colors. And colors, you need to set up the right color palette. There's plenty of information about color palette, but you need to take the time to tackle the color subject. This is point number one. Point number two, talking about font. I've seen also in some dashboard that, the fonts that we are using, too small, too big, too many capital letters all over the place can be also a tricky part for our user. And you may think that, well, if you change the font, it's not that a top priority for us. Or, different department of maybe different font, or at least you have one font, but they are using different size. There's no rules like using is 24, another one is 12, another one is 14 for a title, no specific rules. Do you use capital letters or not? How do you organize information? And this is all bring us to what are the key points regarding fonts is fonts can help your reader to use your dashboard. I can tell you this because in terms of user, in terms of consistency, I've seen it a lot regarding font, like we don't set up some rules. And in terms of, when you look at the level of fonts, the size of the fonts, this can help you to have a hierarchy in terms of information. Now, if you don't take care of this, for your brain, if you use, for example, the same size for every single items, your brain will look at it and say, well, same kind of level of information, which is definitely what we don't want. We want people, user, to have kind of hierarchy, understand what we are doing this, and what is top priority, what is a second level priority. So we don't want to have this. So once again, fonts, hierarchy, size of the fonts, you need to set up. I would strongly recommend you to set up some rules talking about fonts. Another subject, and some example, just one example about fonts. It's I know that also I've been working with some company with some challenge with the typos are using because the font is not as easy as we can regarding a dashboard. This can happen sometimes. Be careful on this. Some font are really good for design, for web design, and for dashboard design. and some are not, okay? So those are the common characteristics, but please look at the font, trying to see what kind of font you are using right now, and make some research to double check that this is the right font that you can use. One rule that I got regarding this is for your dashboard. It's 1F 2W 4S. For this morning, this will be the keyword for this morning. One of the keywords is one font only. Please don't try to make it nice and funky with title with one font and everything else with another font. Stick to one font only. When we talk about two-weight, we could have regular and bold, two-weight only. Make it easier for your user to make it happen. And the last point, 4 different type of size. Okay, you set up one size for a KPI, one size for a title, one size for chart title, all that kind of thing. So have maximum of 4 different size for your dashboard for the font. This is very important to make it easier once again for our user. Another subjects that I've seen also, talking about chart and color, we mentioned about colors, and I'm always enjoying talking about also colorblind people. When you say, okay, do you use red or green, or do you use something else? This is a typical, for example, using blue and orange, talking about dashboarding, because blue and orange are more easier for people that are colorblind. So colors, size of fonts are key subjects. The last 2 subjects I've got here is chart selection. How do you select the right chart? And this can be also really tricky when we're talking about this, selecting the right chart. You need to have some guidelines. You cannot, once again, select charts in your dashboard like, depending on the space I've got, depending on the data I've got only, and depending on the look and feel, or depending on my manager. If my manager is happy with pie chart, I should put the pie chart everywhere. The thing is, there's very specific, easy rules that you can follow to really make it useful for your user. And one of the main point is, once again, selecting the right chart is a key part, because otherwise, and why is it key part? Because you can use, miscommunication of data, you can have lack of clarity when you're using a chart. And the last point is, again, you can reduce efficiency with as consequences. So what can we do about this? Well, it all depends on what would you like to see. Just for example here, depending of if you want to see a distribution, you get one set of a dashboard, one set of a chart. Composition is another setup of chart. Comparison, another setup of chart. So as you can see, depending of what you are willing to showcase, you have some specific chart to use, and that's a key part. And if you want to go further into this subject, you can type on your browser what we call visual vocabulary. You can see the title, the top right left here on your screen. Visual vocabulary plus Power BI, and you will see plenty of ways to how to select the right chart. And the last point, and then Cornelia, my colleague, will show it to you, more in practice regarding Power BI. It's when we talk about structure. Structure, is a point where, every time you open a dashboard, it's, different way to organize information, different way to position information, and all that kind of thing. And you may think that, we need to we don't want to limit creativity. We want to make it, easier for our developer and all that kind of thing. And the answer is no. You want to make sure that your user can use your dashboard in a nice and easy way. And that's why it's very important to think about, how do we organize information? Is it a Z approach? Is it a F approach? Is it a, all kind of different approach that we're using. And once again, if every time you open one dashboard, you have one way of organizing information, it can be tricky. In terms of inconsistency, in terms of efficiency. So it's very important to keep track on this. I can tell you in terms of, and this we'll see with Cornelia, because if you set up some rules and some templates, for examples, this can help to, to level up the speed of process regarding creating a new dashboard. Something I'm doing, I'm using right now when I'm creating, templates regarding clients, is using this 12-column grid system. It's something we are having back from the printing edition. Okay, from printing business. They've been using this for newspaper and organize, information in magazines. So basically, the idea is the following: you divide your screen into 12 different columns. You get columns. You get gutter, the gutter is a space between the columns, and you get a margin on the size. And what this will bring you? Well, this will allow you to set up some rows and some, I would say, empty space that you can use to create your dashboard. And at the end of the day, this is just one example as a starting point, but Cornelia will show it to you right now. And of course, as you can imagine, in Power BI, you will not see the 12 columns at the back on the final dashboard. But this will help you to give a structure, okay, and to organize information the way it should be. So now I'm gonna pass the floor to my colleague Cornelia. And just one point is, regarding the subject of graphical charter, it's a 5-step process. You will have access to the PowerPoint, to the presentation after the presentation, but it's really a step-by-step approach to analyze the situation, bring some recommendation, implement, and train people to make sure that we get everybody at the same place. So, sorry, Cornelia, I took a little bit, few more minutes than expected. Always difficult to stop me when I'm talking about this subject. I will stop sharing my screen, and I think, Cornelia, you can can share your screen, and I will hand the floor to Cornelia.
Yes, thank you, JP. Thank you. So for my part, I will talk about Power BI, how to implement this system with Power BI. Did you see my screen? Okay? Yes.
Alors now we can see. Voilà. Now
yes,
we can
okay.
see your Power BI screen.
Okay, nice. Okay, thank you. So yes, but Power BI, it's an incredible useful tool to use to create a dashboard and visualization for all. So I will in Power BI we can use pre-built templates. We can use it for marketplace for pre-built templates, but the best thing is we can create our own templates to maintain consistent branding and layout across multiple reports. So it's very fun, like JP says, we can create a canvas and use it on some wireframes and use it for all our reports. So I will just show how to implement the 12 columns grids canvas, and after we use it like a wireframe and use it on all our reports. So for example, so I will just for example, we take a basic layout canvas we put the content normally, so 69, and we can create our grid columns. So there are 12, so we'll like JB tag, so we can create 12 columns, 12 grids, and we'll adapt with margin. So we use snapped feature to be sure to align our grids on column grid. So like that, we'll have our, so I use it only normal shapes, grids, grid shapes. So I will put it, so I will create 12. So I will show you only when I have it. So this one. And after we have our 12 columns, we'll try to start our wireframe. So for example, I will put, I will start to create, for example, my my panel of filter. I say that here is my header, and here I will put my filter. So I will say, so for example, that I have 68 for height. So here I will put some slicers. I'll just disable my blue because it's not nice. Okay, and after I will we can create our wireframe in the same time. So I will use it next the snap feature. So I will keep it my margin of 50. So here I have 50. Here I will just use it in 50. And how, for example, I will show you about why to have four visualization. One card. So here we ensure that our alignment is in the first grid, and I use it here for columns. And we'll say, for example, about 224 on height, and I will use it the same here. So like that, we easily here, for example, I will put it about 28, and we can easily create our wireframe. So like that, I have my first template. So here, this is my first template. So easily we can just use column grid and using I will put maybe more. So we can ensure that alignment is consistent, and we have the same alignment on my wireframe. So to use it, we'll only, for example, keep our shapes. I will create a new page. I'll put it here. So I have my first template. So we can, for example, delete my base creation, and I will keep another free wireframe. So I will put it wireframe 4. Sorry. And now choose it. So I will save it. So I will export it like a Power BI template. So I name it Power BI template like that. So I will save it. I can put a lot of description if I want. Then, like that, we define our first template. I can close it. And when I start to create a new Power BI report, dashboard, we can choose to import this template. So I start a blank report. And now I go to the file, import, and I can import my Power BI template. So it was this one. And we can see that our pages is here. So I define that this is my first wireframe. So for example, I can have another one. This is the same, but this one to align to have free cards or free pie chart and a line chart on the bottom. Or here, for example, we can have this disposition. So it helps the 12 columns grids help us to align this. For example, easily now I will just add some little data just to show how to complete this template easily. And I show you the colors themes, how it works. So here, so for example, I just put a card. So here, I use the snap feature to put my my card, and I put the same. So same for the. I put a line chart here. Tac. Sales on the, for example, profit on my customer segment. For example, so we can have this. And now, like you see, I lost my my visual border. So on the visual, so I can enable here visual border, but I can also use, for example, if I put if I use the templating now. So for example, we have the pre-built template here to change our color, our palette, but I can do a JSON template and use an example. So it's the file is like this. So we can define the fonts that we want to use, the data colors, so the palettes that we can define here. Donc these are color. We can all define the same for the title cards. We can define a lot of objects about our visual, and we can, for example, use a specific color for one visual or not use it on the default colors, on the default palette. So we have the choice to use it. So here, for example, in my templates, I said that I want a border on gray colors in my line chart. I didn't want it on my pie chart. So if I add it here, a pie chart, for example, if I add a pie chart here and I put my pie chart, I will put a product category and quantity here. So like you can say, no, I already use it, sorry. No, I don't have. Like that. Normally, I don't have my. Sorry, I will just see, but I don't have my border here enabled. No, I know it, but I have it here in my. I can add this on my template, and I can change. Yes, I put some.
Always a challenge with live example, huh? But
yes,
Cornelia, you're doing good. You're doing good. But
okay,
as you can see, with the JSON file, you can set up the colors with the template. You can structure, I mean, pre-structure plenty of templates. And I don't know if you have one example. I think you have one example. So it's really easy now. Imagine next time you are having a new developer starting to create the dashboard, he can use the template. It will make it easier for him. Just make sure we follow the right guidelines for the company. It will be speed up the process. So
yes, I will show you. I have two of them. So this one and yes, this one. And for example, when I set I set two JSON files about my templates, so I can easily change fonts and colors. And for example, apply or not my borders or another. I can put also the header. I can do a lot of it. For example, for for a card, I can define a lot of, for example, category labels for each card using in my report. We can specify the category labels, background colors, so we can all show. So it's our choice to do it or not. I have another standard about. So we can define a lot of wireframes and after use it using by import it in our dashboard. So for example, I have another one where here I use another disposition. So I have three visual here and one on bottom on my panels on the top. So we can use only the panel. We can use the same system to have the panel filter on the right side too, or on the left. So we can just it's permits to align consistently the layout area. So that's it for me. Thanks. I let you continue, JP.
Yes, but I think we can switch to Ralph now. We can
Yes.
present. So now, just in the meantime, so if you have a question, you can start to put some. I think Rebecca, we open a Q&A, so we can start to fill in your question. So basically, we have now one presentation from Ralph, and then we have we'll take hopefully 10-12 minutes to have a Q&A session. And at the end also, we'll give you also, we'll have a gift for you at the end of this session. So stay tuned. And Ralph, all yours.
Perfect.
Welcome on board.
Thanks a lot. So I will share my screen and get directly started. So my name is Ralph Büchsenschuss. I'm connecting today from Microsoft in Switzerland. And what I want to show you is a little bit how is in the end Power BI changing, let's say, in the light also of generative AI. So how can we bring in generative AI into how we democratize and share data across the organization? Just let's say one little number to share. We already see that a lot of knowledge workers are already bringing their own AI to their workplace. So 75% of people are already using generative AI provided by their company, or let's say through their private channels, because in the end, generative AI is out there. And we also see that in the end, 46% of people actually started within the last 6 months to actually use generative AI. So how does that actually look like using AI in the context of analytics, business intelligence, and more precisely in the area of Power BI? So we see that we have actually a lot of different AI powered features already embedded in Power BI. So we have, for example, a Q&A function where you can actually chat with your data and actually create your own graphs without actually being the analyst or owner of the dashboard. So this really enables also, let's say, people who don't really have a very deep understanding of dashboard creation to actually interact in a very easy way with their data. Key driver analysis is one feature which actually helps you to say, if I have a specific KPI, what are in the end the drivers behind moving up or down this KPI? And there are, let's say, certain models behind which actually explore your data and help you to understand what are certain drivers and, more importantly, what can we then do about these drivers. Key phrase extraction and sentiment analysis. These are both, let's say, technologies from the natural language processing corner, where in the end you can actually load your text data into Power BI and you get in the end certain clusters of your text back. Or you can actually understand what is the sentiment of your text data. Is it positive, negative, neutral, and these kind of things. Of course, you can also connect in the end your data set, let's say, with more advanced ML features coming from our broader analytics stack, as well as using, for example, smart narratives. Smart narratives, in the end, if you think about, you set up your dashboard, you share it with your executives, and they always come back with, yeah, but what is the executive summary? This is now, let's say, a built-in functionality, which is actually adjusting to the role of the end consumer. So the person looking at the dashboard, based on their data access to the dashboard, they will get a smart summary, a smart little executive summary based on the data they have. If they start to filter, actually the summary is automatically adjusting to what they are filtering on and so on. So it takes actually a lot of, let's say, manual writing away, and also provides a better experience using, in the end, these dashboards. Root cause analysis is, in the end, something where you can drill down into your data to really understand what are, let's say, the different underlying levels of your data. Imagine you have, for example, the company high level. So you have, for example, how many employees do you have in your organization? And then you can split it down into the different business areas, into country, into gender, into line of business, and so on and so on. You can use, let's say, certain AI features to explore your data in a more easier way. You can integrate easily now with Python and R. And of course, you can extend to the more broader Azure machine learning models, which are then accessible also in the broader Microsoft Analytics suite. And of course, if you follow Microsoft, we have also then Copilot in Power BI. And that is actually something I want to show you live to just give a flavor how, in the end, generative AI is helping you to interact in a much easier, natural way with your data. So let me switch to that. So you see here a sample HR dashboard. And for example, you have here different tiles. Yes, that one. The first one I actually wanted to show you. Here we have, for example, this smart narrative. So you see in the end, AI is actually writing up this narrative. If I filter or click on one of these interactive charts, you see that actually also the smart narrative, not only the graphs, but also the smart narratives are actually adjusting. So you see now it's adjusted. So if I go here, for example, on the tile of, for example, diversity, so what is the composition of my workforce? What I can do now is actually, let's say, have a conversation with my Copilot and say, how many employees are under 30 years? That's actually, let's say, taking the two groups of the employees below 21 and 21 to 30, and is then actually coming up, let's say, with the number. I can also say how many employees are over 60 years. And it's also, let's say, providing quite quickly just, let's say, the number I need. Or I can make it even more complicated and say how many employees do we have below 30 years and over 60 years. And what you can see is, in the end, Copilot is, in the end, even, let's say, doing certain calculations, but also, let's say, always referencing from where it's actually getting, let's say, the data and actually showing you how it's actually coming to that result. If we say, actually, I'm looking at this diversity tab, and also I have here an attrition tab, and I would be actually interested in actually merging these two tabs. I can also, let's say, ask my Copilot to actually create an additional page providing some trends over time for attrition and diversity. So to actually have, let's say, these kind of two different tiles in actually, let's say, one page. And we will see how, in the end, Copilot, let's say, can also help here to, for example, create a completely new page, combining, in the end, attrition data and diversity data. And I can also use, for example, the persona pattern to say, how would you improve this page to make it highly relevant for a chief HR officer being part of the executive board. So I want actually to make this slide or this page much more relevant for really senior leaders. So for our, in this case, head of HR. And in the end, Copilot is also helping me actually to come up with some recommendations how I, let's say, could make, let's say, this page a little bit more appealing. So it's in the end helping me to become in the end more proficient, faster in terms of how I interact with the data, but also how I actually can refine my dashboard, how I can make it potentially better suited for specific audiences. I could, let's say, continue going into now the specifics of these recommendations. I could say, how can I make it relevant for a very operational persona in the organization, and so on and so on. So in the end, you can see that generative AI is really, let's say, helping here to become, on the one side, more creative, but also, let's say, more proficient and faster in how I actually interact with my dashboard. And with that, I think to stay on time, we can switch now to the Q&A to give enough space for questions, also for reflections. So back to you, Jean-Philippe.
Well, I would say back to the floor. Back to everybody. So it's time now for Q&A. Feel free to, I mean, share your question, react, so you can react on the chat, and yeah, feel free to ask your question. I don't know, Rebecca. I'm sure you have some question. Don't be shy. I'm sure you have some question. So, do we see any question coming?
Not yet, Jean-Philippe.
Okay, maybe we can ask also yourself, in terms of, implementing. So as you mentioned, so Ralph, you mentioned about how the tool can help us to go, basically you set up your dashboard and you can now even go further with Copilot as a key question. Yeah.
Jean-Philippe, sorry, you can read a question through the chat of the webinar. Frederick has written one question, but through the chat.
Alors, do we know how many companies are using Copilot in Power BI? On my side, no clue. Maybe Ralph, you have some information. And maybe Ralph also, can we generate? That's a good question. Thank you, Alexi. Because this is the point I think we talked with Cornelia earlier. Can we generate the JSON file? JSON template file via Copilot. How mature is it?
So on the first question, so how many companies are using Copilot in Power BI? Globally, I can't really say. I just know that, let's say here locally, it's, let's say, a feature which is quite high in demand because it really changes how you enable your end users to interact with data, as well as speeding up, let's say, the setup and development of dashboards. In terms of JSON file, I would have to check. That is something we can provide. I will actually have to test on my own. I have never done it. So yeah, in terms of maturity, there is, let's say, a lot of development actually going into Copilot. So there's happening quite a lot. So we are actually working on a lot of, let's say, different releases to constantly increase the different capabilities to really, let's say, improve, embed the feedback from customers into this product. So it also depends a little bit on, let's say, what we saw in the beginning, a little bit where you stand. Are you more at the beginner level, intermediate, or more advanced? And how, in the end, how mature you perceive it. Or also, let's say, on the different roles actually using it. So for beginners, for example, it's really, let's say, quite a game changer. For very, let's say, senior people, it's, let's say, also a certain, let's say, productivity boost. So it also, let's say, depends a little bit on the maturity of, in the end, the user of Copilot.
Yeah. Let's go regarding next question regarding Copilot. What about the data that Copilot is reading? How are they analyzed and are they stored somewhere at Microsoft? I don't know, David, is your meaning like, because basically, well, I mean, for example, the dashboard that you mentioned about HR, I mean, you showed, I mean, basically information are staying in this area. It's not, the result of all your question and all that kind of thing. And also there was a question linked to this. can we monitor the usage of Copilot in order to identify trends of question on specific dashboard? Let's say, what are the typical? Do we store this information somewhere, like notes, or is Copilot storing this information somewhere?
So at the moment, on the first question, so Copilot is only, let's say, accessing the data you have in this specific dashboard and helping you in your, let's say, secure company environment to work in a more easier way with your data. So it depends, let's say, how you set up in the end your Power BI environment and Copilot, and in which kind of data center you want to locate your data. So the data, let's say, not leaving, let's say, your environment. In terms of limitations, risks on using confidential company financial data and Copilot, the same. You select where you want to store the data and where the data should be processed, and then it's happening there. So your data is not leaving what you decide in terms of data processing. Of course, it has to be processed in the cloud. On-premise, it doesn't work.
Right. And this question regarding the trends and key question so this information is stored somewhere. We know the question from Isabel, like, can we monitor the usage of Copilot? Like, I mean, all the questions that you ask about this HR dashboard, are all those questions stored somewhere so we can check afterwards, okay, what are all the questions that we get regarding Copilot on this specific dashboard? Is it something, do you know?
So we don't store the prompt. So you can't say people are always prompting on specific topics. These kind of things we can't tell due to data privacy. So we are not, let's say, monitoring the kind of prompts going into a Copilot. And yes, and the Copilot in Power BI is, let's say, the Copilot in Fabric. So you need, let's say, a Power BI premium capacity or a Fabric capacity to use Copilot. Okay,
so in terms of license, you need to have premium or Fabrics.
Exactly, the Power BI premium capacity or the Fabric capacity.
Okay. Good. Do you have any more questions regarding this subject? I mean, it's a huge subject, so
definitely. And if there are any questions, yeah, happy to take them also via LinkedIn. So feel free to reach out at any time. And
can Copilot create visualization?
Yes. So as you have seen in the demo, you can ask it to create specific, let's say, visualizations and let's say reports. So that is something Copilot can do, definitely.
Okay, so based on natural language, you could ask, you know, create a bar chart or create a graphic. How would you should specify it, like create a pie chart to represent this, or?
Exactly. The more precise you are, also in the end, it's not taking away that you have to know the data and what you actually want to visualize. So you can just say, do me a visualization, or you can be very precise and say, take me this, and this field, take me this metric, and please, let's say, create a specific visualization for this data. So the more precise, the better. Yeah, it's as usual with prompting. The more precise, the better.
Okay. Okay. I don't see if you see any other question, Ralph. I think we're almost at the end for this session. Alors, we have, and we can also discuss this with Ralph if you need to, of course. You know, in order to move forward in this area, we're thinking about how to give you some some help in terms of more focusing on what I call graphical charter, design playbook, and all that kinds. And basically, you can use this QR code here to see, where do you stand, what are the main hurdles that you're facing in terms of design, and how could you overcome them? So this could be an approach. You have here a direct, and hopefully my QR code will be working. I'm sure it will. And you can specify a time where we can discuss. And if you have some specific also question regarding more especially Ralph. You have also his, you will have also his contact details, so to have more information about Copilot and how Copilot can, I mean, Microsoft Power BI and Copilot can help you to move forward. So this is, I would say, the end. I say, well, I got a bigger version of the QR code in case of you're missing the target. It's always about design. Design is about making big of what you want people to focus on. So I think will be I would say a closing here. We'll have some next new webinar coming. I think it will be more at the sure at the beginning of next year with different subject, and we'll be talking about all kind of different subject. And basically one of the series that I will start in sometime in January would be coming back to the roots, as I mentioned, coming back to collecting the right requirement, because creating a dashboard can be, you can do plenty of things, as Ralph mentioned, ask 3 questions and I get full dashboard. But starting from the beginning and coming back to the roots, collecting the right requirement, and I will show you one approach to move down to this area. So I think we are all set. I don't know if you have any more other points, Ralph, Cornelia. No.
Thank you.
All good.
So, well, thank you for your time. Thank you for joining this session. We'll see you next time and during the year, or via LinkedIn or whatsoever. So yeah, I would say have a very nice end of day, end of week, and talk to you soon.
See you. Bye.
See you. Bye.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye, everybody.